Cool. Okay. I'm Vance. I'm going to show you something cool that I kind of discovered, stumbled upon, trying to do something I wanted to do. I actually learned about this like 5-6 years ago. That if you don't know, I'm not a page shill for Google, by the way. So this is not a presentation about just about their stuff. If you don't know, Google has a whole apps script service that backs all of their online Drive stuff. So if you store a lot of stuff in Google Spreadsheets or in Google Docs or presentations, if you use the Google Forms to collect, information from users, if you use Gmail, you can actually script a lot of actions using Google Apps Script to happen automatically. A good example is like a mail merge. Does anyone know what a mail merge is? Okay, it's like you have a spreadsheet of like people you need to email and then columns of custom information, and you need to create an email with like placeholders that like put the custom information, like if you're, I don't know, say put the user's address here and put their first name here and then, like that. That's kind of like a mail merge. So platforms like MailChimp and things like that will kind of handle that for you behind the scenes in the whole app that they've built. But if you're doing it just from a spreadsheet, you can actually put this in a Google spreadsheet, get an add-on, and then do the mail merge through your own Gmail and a spreadsheet, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to show you one thing that I've made, and just to give you kind of an idea what you can do with it. I think probably add-ons for Google Spreadsheets and Mail are probably the coolest ones because the data is very clearly formatted, especially in spreadsheets and things like that, versus like a Google Doc where it's kind of a free form, just words all over the page. PowerScript wasn't even on. Okay, let me increase the font here. Okay, so one of the things I've been wanting to do, my wife and I have been thinking about budgeting a lot. We've tried a bunch of different budget apps, but most of the budget apps kind of have their own way of budgeting, and I'm like, what I really want is my own transactions in a spreadsheet, so I can just pull fresh transactions into a spreadsheet at any time, and then make my own like pivot table or charts off of that, because I'm kind of a spreadsheet nerd. I'm kind of one of those guys that'll go in and format all the numbers and make them different colors and stuff like that. That's me. I know there's probably some of you maybe. Anyway, maybe not. Maybe I'm the only one in here. I'm not like a finance guy. I just like clean formatting and numbers and stuff. So anyway, so I said about like how can I possibly do this, and there's this website called plaid.com. Plaid.com basically lets you link your bank account to an app. You get like a token to pull in bank transactions from that account after you do the link step. So Plaid handles all the login stuff with your bank. The credentials, the exchange, all that kind of stuff, so that you can programmatically then get an access token and then say, give me the latest transactions from this date and this date from that account, and you can do that from thenceforth. So what Plaid is set up for is, Plaid is targeted for app developers who are developing apps to allow their users to connect banks to their apps. So if you're building a budget app and you want your users to import their transactions automatically, for instance, you would use Plaid. My use case, I'm saying I just want to use it personally. Like, I don't want to make an app. I just want to use it personally. So I was looking on Plaid, and they actually have a free account that you can link up to 100 accounts, accounts with. And actually, you can really link up to 5. They say 100 here, but you can really link up to 5. You can request more than 5, up to 100. But it has transactions and balance and auth, which is really what I needed. I needed my own transactions personally. So I'm like, okay, well, what if I signed up for a Plaid account, put that info in a spreadsheet, and then made some kind of process to automatically like fetch that, so I wouldn't have to go log in, copy the stuff or export a CSV and paste it and delete the 8 columns that I don't need from the export and, do that every single time at once. one transaction. So I started messing around with Google Apps Script just to kind of see how far I could go with it. And it turns out you can go pretty dang far with it. So Google has an add-ons menu. So if you use Google Drive, up at the top menu there, the file edit menu, there's an add-ons menu item. And this has a get add-ons thing. And so if you want to create an add-on, you can actually put your add-on in the store. And then people can add it. Now all these add-ons are free, but they're kind of freemium. So Google doesn't facilitate the way to charge, but you can install the add-on and then you can figure out how to charge. So anyway, long story short. Okay, so I made this add-on. The first step is to set up spreadsheet. What it's doing is it's creating all the spreadsheets. I actually left the budget and categories spreadsheets in here, but it actually fetches all the categories from Plaid and puts them in here, and then sets up a budget spreadsheet that will have kind of a drop down of all the categories. Did you know you could do drop downs in cells? Anyway, cool stuff. So the first thing you would do is you'd go to your Plaid account, and then you would enter I kind of cut this off on purpose, so if you're saying it's cut off, I can't see it, I'm like, yes, I know. So you enter your client ID, your public key, and then if you're doing development or Sandbox, you can enter one of those keys. Development would actually fetch real bank transactions from your bank and do the real login step. Sandbox is like a testing, so you can fetch a bunch of test transactions. So I copied my Sandbox key, and then I put them in here. Again, cut off on purpose. And then I have this last fetch date. So these are, in the settings spreadsheet, these are the settings here that I require you to set up before you do this. And so now I'm going to go to link new bank account. There's an API to actually pop up a modal window and load HTML in it. And you can include third-party scripts in there as well. This will require a permissions prompt. It's kind of like an Android model for Google, where if you use certain features in your add-on, it requires a permissions prompt when they first install the add-on, then you're good to go. So I'm using Plaid link. If you'll see at the bottom, it says you are currently in Sandbox mode. What that means is it'll give me a username and password there at the bottom to use to pull in a bunch of test data. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. User good and pass good, and then it will do the link as if it's actually doing the link, and then it will say it's linked. So then if you look in the spreadsheet back here, it's inserting a bunch of rows. It's actually, once you link your bank account, it actually goes in, grabs all the accounts you have at that financial institution, inserts them all as rows. Plaid set up 5 accounts. With anything you link, their Sandbox is always like 5 accounts, so it does that. And it's got their names, and then, the account token really is probably the most important thing. That's what I'm going to use to fetch all these transactions. So after I've done that setup, I've got my transactions sheet here. It's currently empty. And then I'll go to Add-Ons Budget Sheet script, and then I'll do Fetch Latest Bank Transactions. That'll open a side panel that will fill in the last fetch date here, and then default is today's date, but then you can go in and change this. This is HTML5, date input control, so any browser that supports the date control will show you a calendar. And I'm going to hit Fetch Transactions. So it's fetching now. I've got a little toast menu, switches over to the sheet, and it's actually pulling in all the bank transactions from Plaid right now. And then it sorts it. The last thing it does is it sorts it by date, so you see the most recent ones. So now I can switch over to my budget spreadsheet, and I wish this would hold the reference. There we go. I guess, let me see. I'll have to, once you empty the sheet and then if you delete the sheet and recreate it, it breaks the reference even though the sheet name is the same. It's kind of a weird thing. So let's take a look at those transactions it pulled in for me. And again, these are all, Plaid's test transactions, so I did not spend $500 at KFC, by the way. So we're going to type a category. This will autocomplete for us, and then we get the actual amount and the difference. And you can do other calculations like percentages. We can do pivot tables, any kind of thing like that. I don't know if there's groceries. Nothing groceries. I saw some travel in there. And the other thing this doesn't do currently is it doesn't I'm going to create a column for every month in the year. So this is totaling the whole sheet, but that sheet actually has transactions for, I think, 3 different months in there. So it's not quite accurate. But anyway, that kind of gives you an idea of things you can do. You can get to it from Tools Script Editor, which will open the script editor. I'll increase that. And then this is all of the custom JavaScript that I've written to fetch the transactions. Anyway, it's currently ES5 JavaScript, so you don't get to use all the modern cool stuff, which is really unfortunate. But they are Google announced at the latest, I think Google Next or something, Google I/O. There was some event that happened a couple months ago that they announced they're updating this to 2017, fully modern JavaScript, new V8 engine, everything like that, so it'll all run faster. You can add HTML files in here too. These are the HTML pop-ups you saw. This is the one that links transactions. You would just do file new, either script file or HTML file, and then you can choose. Let's see. Let me show you one. I'll show you one. Let's see here. The add menu items. There's a let's see. It will fire on open. It will fire on open if there's an on open defined. Let's see, on open. Oops. On open. Yeah. So it will fire an on open automatically when the spreadsheet's loaded, and that's what puts that in the add-on menu, and then you can do whatever you want from there. So anyway, you can run scheduled tasks. You can run them on events. You can run all kinds of cool stuff. But hopefully that gives you a kind of taste of what you can do. Yeah, you search Google Apps Script if you're interested, and then they have tons of really, really good documentation that just outlines every single thing that you can do, formatting, creating spreadsheets, all that kind of stuff. Basically, everything is scriptable that you could possibly do in the spreadsheet yourself through clicks. So anyway, is there any questions? Yeah. Yeah, so you can schedule a task. You can add. You basically. It keeps track of all the functions you define in here, so you can run them if you wanted to. So if I were to select this and hit run, I could run that function without having to be in the spreadsheet. It's useful for testing things like that. But you can also schedule. Yeah.
I want to run this download script midnight overnight.
Yes, you can. There are scheduled tasks. I'm not seeing them here. You might have to deploy it as an add-on first. But this kind of integrates with some Google Cloud stuff. That if you have a Google Cloud console, you can schedule these functions to run using that. And you might have to pay for additional resources on the Google Cloud side to do that, but there was a way to do that I saw. Yeah, is there a question online?
On
Yeah.
Is the source code, i.e. legitsheets.js, always visible when downloading an add-on, or is that because it's in your own source code?
No, this is just because it's in my own account.
You want to repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is the source code visible via an add-on, or is this because it's in my own account? Right now, this source code is just visible in my own account because I'm working on it. So if you downloaded it via an add-on, you wouldn't have a way to access it or see it. It would just run. Come on. There we go. You wouldn't have a way to access it or see it. It would just run. It'd be obfuscated to you. Any other questions? Cool. Anyway. I'm working on it. I plan to release it as an add-on at some point. I don't know when. But All right, thanks. Did anyone else want to go? Or have anything to show? Or yeah, it's kind of time, but all right, cool. Well, thanks everyone for coming. Eat some more pizza before you go. Thanks again.